6 p.m. in Yaoundé, Central Region of Cameroon, same time right here in Akwa. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. First, our major stories. A 13-year-old boy is suspected to have been sexually assaulted by a 40-year-old man in the bush around the Rompuang Express neighborhood in Yaoundé, Central Region of Cameroon. The suspect is reported to have assaulted several other teenagers in that part of the country. Our newsroom went on a fact-finding mission to get latest updates on the affair. And away from that, we'll take you stay right here in the city of Douala, where activities have been grounded in several motor parks plying the northwest and southwest line. Visiting some motor parks in Bonaberry, Douala 4 subdivision, transporters say they are living their worst moments as economic activities have been perturbed since the escalation of the armed conflict in Anglophone Cameroon. In this edition of the news, some of the drivers will explain to us the economic and social impact of the lockdown on their activities. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always choosing Equinoxe television. We are broadcasting live from our headquarters right here in Akwa Douala. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Public security forces have presented a man who is suspected to have assaulted a 13-year-old boy at the Rompuang Express neighborhood in Yaoundé, Central Region of Cameroon. According to Police Commissioner Ebode Atanga Philip, the suspect is renowned to have committed many of such atrocities, as Majikan Gabriel tells us.
Wazizi, as he is called, is known by many at Rompuang Express in Yaoundé as a meat vendor. It was during his presentation by the elements of the 9th District Police Station in Yaoundé that security forces exposed the hidden identity of the 40-year-old.
He assaulted and attacked many young guys, less than 14 years. And finally, this victim, he raped him 3 times in a bush not far than a small stream around the market of Rompuang Express. We discovered that he has been sued for the matter for less than 6 months ago, and he has been jailed for it.
It wasn't the first time Wazizi was committing the act on young men around the vicinity, and most often he threatened his victims that if they ever speak out, they will be stabbed to death. The senior police officer sends this advice to parents
that they don't have to give the education of the children to the TV. They have to normally continue to speak with the children, making an investigation in the area where they are living, looking at the behavior of the children, and now look if there is something that has changed.
The act that was committed on the 13-year-old boy could have adverse effects on him in the nearest future, as a doctor explained.
Mentally, you have a child who is disconnected. Usually those child, some will be scared and the other may become aggressive, starting taking alcohol, drugs. The physical aspect, the child may contract sexual infections, HIV, syphilis, hepatitis.
It wasn't the first time Wazizi was accused of sodomization. He has been presented to the state prosecutor for justice to take its course.
Smart Jikan Gabriel reporting there. The prime suspect of the murder case of the 23-year-old lady known as Barbara has been exposed by elements of the Limbe Gendarmerie Brigade. Barbara was killed on the 1st of September 2024 at the Makoka neighborhood in Limbe, southwest region of Cameroon. In the report coming up next, our reporter Davison Maimo says the accused admitted of having killed Barbara while pleading it was an accident. We have details in this report.
Reconstructing the crime scene of the killing of a 23-year-old girl, Barbara, on the 1st of September 2024 at the Makuka neighborhood in Limbe by his suspect, Epie Vitalis Mbong, before the State Council, Ba Azeme Aurelien, and the Fako National Gendarmerie Company Commander, Captain Atuba Justin Alex, for them to better ascertain what transpired. Epie claimed he picked up Barbara at a Down Beach relaxation site and took her to his house, agreeing to pay her the sum of 25,000 francs CFA for her companionship. However, things did not go well after the encounter, as Epie gave Barbara 6,000 francs CFA instead of the 25,000 francs CFA as initially agreed.
5,000 a year. You tell me, say no, you know, so this okay, sorry, I move 1,000, I add 6,000. So me pay transfer book. As I put my bag back, so I take my shop. I will am. They tell me say that money I give now for me to say you know correct. I don't care about deliveries.
Leading into a scuffle that led to Epie pushing Barbara to hit her head, resulting to her death.
I take my phone. You see, I do that kind of stuff. You see, be kind of town there. I take my phone, knock and down. After that verse, I jam me skin of face.
Later that night, Epie single-handedly carried and dumped the dead body of Barbara into a valley some 30 meters away from their residence. Initially, Epie had denied having anything to do with Barbara's death after the lifeless body was discovered on the 3rd of September, 2 days after the macabre act. Epie faces a first-degree murder charge, punishable by life imprisonment due to the deliberate and premeditated nature of the crime. It should be noted that the investigator fished out Epie as a prime suspect after tracing Barbara's phone through a phone repairer, whom Epie had given the phone to be formatted so as to erase every evidence.
What a sad story, indeed. Now we talk something else. The senior divisional officer for the Wuri division fulfills his promise to visit and conduct a survey on the 4 hectares of portion of land in the New Bell Cemetery neighborhood, that is in the Douala 2 subdivision, claimed by certain women who are allegedly ordered for the demolition of over 100 hectares of constructed 100 hectares of houses constructed on it. Unfortunately, the visit was brief, given that only one party was present, the victims. The stranded victims are, however, hopeful justice will be theirs. We have details with Innocent Aze.
Victims of the July 12 demolition at New Bell Cemetery Douala finally received the SGO for the Wuri division, who had promised to descend on the scene during a meeting with them and a representative of Madame Endele opposing them. After qualifying the demolition of houses on this land measuring 4 hectares during the meeting a week ago as cruel and unjust by Madame Endele, the prefect and his delegation are here for a survey.
Le préfet est juste venu pour voir.
He came only to take stock of the situation, know the total dimension of the land claimed by Madame Endele, and if her 3 land titles brandished by her lawyer, not up to 2 hectares in a boundary locality, warrant her a piece of land in New Bell Cemetery. After a brief survey, the senior civil administrative officer and his entourage departed, promising to return to complete the findings. Both parties were to be present, but Madame Endele did not show up. The SGO said we need to sit down together and talk amicably to resolve the problem. However, work has started, and it is only at the end that we will know how many hectares we have been deprived of by the woman. While hoping to be caught by the administration for the next visit, the demolition victims continue to suffer from homelessness. We have been living in people's houses with our few belongings outside. Since the academic year started, our children have not been able to go to school because their birth certificates, uniforms and shoes were lost in the rubbles. My 100-year-old grandfather is sleeping in open air. My children can't go to school. I lost everything. Even the dress I am wearing was given to me by a neighbor. Their wish is that the process goes on speedily for the truth to be revealed, followed by their compensation.
The Bishop of the Yagua Diocese, Monsignor Barthélemy Yauda, has condemned in strongest terms what it describes as neglect and injustice towards the people of the northern regions of Cameroon. While speaking over the Catholic radio of the Archdiocese of Douala on a visit, the bishop, who is also from the far north region, used the opportunity to denounce some of the ills, such as the creation of schools only on paper in the northern regions with no classrooms nor benches, was still during his period of floods. Anna Bila tells us more on the situation in that part of the country.
floods, which continue in 5 divisions of the far north region, now puts the inhabitants at a very tight corner. Most people in the Grand North live on agriculture to send their children to school. The Bishop of the Diocese of Yagua, one of the localities badly hit by the flood, says most pupils and students in the north and far north regions, areas hit by the flood, risk having a blank school year this year.
Les parents attendent d'abord qu'on récolte le mil.
His Lordship Bishop Barthélemy Yaouda Ugo, while speaking to the Catholic radio of the Archdiocese of Douala, expresses worries over the living conditions of those living in Mayo Denai, the Logonan Shari, Mayo Kani, among others. While denouncing what he terms gross injustice in Cameroon, the prelate says schools are created only on paper in the Grand North with no classrooms nor benches.
On dit, on a créé tel nombre de quelle sorte d'école.
The Bishop of Yagua adds that access to consistent electricity supply and possible water is a farce. Coupled with the heat which characterizes towns in the northern regions, most people spend night in the open.
Vous n'avez pas d'électricité. Vous n'avez pas d'eau.
Bishop Barthélemy Yaouda Ugo says it's time public authorities of Cameroon got to know the exact realities and needs of the suffering people of the far north and north regions so they could be accorded the desired assistance by the state.
And now we talk insecurity. The economic and social impact of the lockdown in Anglophone northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon is being felt in the city of Douala, which is found several kilometers away from the affected regions. Visiting some motor parks in Bonaberi Douala 4 subdivision, transporters say they are experiencing economic hardship as their activities have been greatly paralyzed. Fami Armstrong Sanda tells us more.
It is a general close down at the Bonaberi Park of the travel agencies plying the northwest and southwest Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Several miles and kilometers away from the northwest and southwest regions, the economic and social impact of the lockdown is being highly felt here in Bonaberi in the Douala 4 municipality.
Yeah, the difficulties we are facing in this lockdown is too much. I've been here since yesterday morning and I'm going to leave on Friday night, so everybody has packed. We are more than 15 of us here. Then it brings difficulties. Our families are in Bamenda, but here we are in Douala. Nowhere, only expenditure.
I've been commando security here. Everybody is down, all the cars is down. It's like everybody is down now. There's nothing moving.
With movements perturbed, passengers do not come around, and petty traders in Douala say they are feeling the pains.
For example, those people that are selling around, not only all the drivers, but the people that are traveling. There are people in Bamenda that have to go and bury their loved ones, but they cannot go. So it is only on weekend.
Et vraiment souffre énormément. Quand ils sont là, nous on vend bien, ils achètent la marchandise. Et depuis qu'on a coupé la route, là, rien ne fonctionne ici à Bonaberi.
Expressing frustrations, Mr. Shefon Lone Richard from Saw in the northwest region termed the lockdown as a general disgrace.
At the present moment, nothing is going on in Bamenda, in northwest in general. People are suffering. Imagine you have 5 children, they stay in their house for 8 years consecutively, no school going. It's just, in fact, parents, and those who are pushing the issues of this ghost town in Northwest is a disgrace. It's not even a disgrace only to those who are supporting it. It's a disgrace to the entire Cameroon as a general. Let the government dialogue.
Following the imposed lockdown, activities have remained paralyzed in the Anglophone northwest and southwest regions 2 weeks into the new academic year in Cameroon, leaving a devastating economic and social impact on the regions.
And when will this crisis finally end? The answer to this question seems to be far-fetched. Away from the crisis, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Lyonga, goes to war with absentee teachers. In a communique dated September 12, 2024, the minister frowned at the school principals who continue to protect teachers who are regularly absent at their duty posts. AC Lucy Liangu read through the communique and compiled the following report for the 6 p.m. news.
In a recent communique, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Pauline Nalova-Liunga, issues a stern warning to teachers in secondary schools across the country who frequently are absent from their duty post. Despite repeated calls, she says principals still protect absentee teachers, disrupting the educational process. The minister, in the release dated September 12, highlights that the absence of these educators, many of whom are currently abroad, has significantly hampered the smooth operation of teaching activities in schools. This issue, according to the report, does not only affect students' learning but also imposes a financial burden on the state as salaries are paid for work not done. Professor Liunga equally condemned principals to protect absentee teachers and warns they will face serious consequences. She announces surprise investigations in schools in order to investigate the matter thoroughly. Lastly, school officials have been urged to adhere to national education standards and immediately report any case of absenteeism to the ministry. Since 2023, a series of communiques have been published by the minister in the fight against the phenomenon. Through a platform, she asked those concerned to report themselves or justify their absences. For the past years, teachers on their part have been decrying poor working conditions via the OTS and OTR movements.
Asia Luciliengu reporting there. Coming up next, our reporter Seri Chakutio gives us latest updates on the performance of some Cameroonians in the just-ended cycling tour that took place in Côte d'Ivoire. His report.
The Cameroon cyclist team is at the top of the 30th edition of the International Cyclist Tour in Côte d'Ivoire. The first stage of the competition was won by Fabrice Chofo at the Sassandra San Pedro circuit. The Cameroonian rider covered the 120.5 kilometers in 3 hours, 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The second stage of the tour was contested this Monday, September 16, 2024, between Grand Lahou and Songo over a distance of 100 kilometers. The two Burkinabe cyclists Vincent Mouni and Moussiala Riwende arrived second and third respectively. The solo finish was achieved by Cameroonian Kamzong Abesolo in 2 hours, 17 minutes, 46 seconds, an average speed of 43.55 kilometers per hour. On the third stage, Roger Kwere Nunawe illustrated himself and got the first place of the circuit. The member of the SNH Villa Club won the third stage of the tour at the Kone Fala Sinfa of 90 kilometers in 2 hours, 12 minutes and 35 seconds with a time of 40.729 kilometers per hour. In the general classification, the Cameroonian of SNH Villa Club, Clovis Kamzong Abesolo, retains his yellow jersey. The emblematic captain of the Cycling Lions accumulates a time of 7 hours, 34 minutes and 58 seconds, thus putting Cameroon at the head of the 30th edition of the International Cyclist Tour in Côte d'Ivoire.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to have Talking Point tonight. That's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for your keen attention. Stay in the company of Serge Alain Otto in some few minutes with the program Equinoxe. See you tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now.